Welcome to the Mouse Bros podcast. Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm his brother Randy. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at the Mouse Bros. We'll be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure you subscribe to get the latest podcast. If you have any suggestions for upcoming shows or just want to say hi, you can email us at mousecabrospodcast@gmail.com.
If you're planning your next Disney destination or Universal Orlando vacation, you're going to want to reach out to me, Ryan Noppinger, with Capture the Magic Vacations. You can reach me at ryan.noppinger@ctmvagent.com. This is a no-cost-to-you service to use me as your travel agent. I'll make sure you get the best vacation package or deal for your whole family. I can also help make dining reservations and plan fast passes to make planning your Disney vacation less stressful and more magical.
On today's episode, we discuss Universal's Epic announcement and how this could affect Disney. But as always, Ryan, the breaker of cookies, Noppinger, how are you doing today?
I do very much like cookies.
It was a good name one.
That was a very, very good name. I am doing well. How are you?
Great. Just got back from a small vacation, so that was fun.
To where?
Busch Gardens.
Oh, no Disney, but
no, trust
up
me.
there, still a theme park. We'll
It
take
was
it.
definitely not Disney, but it was still fun.
Still a theme
Nice
park.
little weekend getaway. Me and the fiance.
Good.
Good.
Well, talking about theme parks.
Yeah.
Let's get right into today's topic, right? So Universal just recently announced, just a few days ago, a new theme park. Basically didn't announce anything else other than that and the name for it, which it will be called Universal's Epic Universe. And that's pretty much it. After they were like, we have this epic great announcement, and that's basically all they gave us from it. But they did give us, I guess, some more background information, but I don't want to say insignificant, but it's still... They said that it's going to have about 14,000 jobs, and they're all starting at right around $15 an hour, which is pretty cool, especially for the Florida area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Always good news.
So do we go right into it and just start naming? So from this announcement, there's been tons and numerous of rumors and speculations on what this new park will have in it, or what even it might have. Just tons of different random stuff that all relates to Universal, but it's all jam-packed in this park, which it is possible, could be possible. Some of them can be true, couldn't be true at all. But just before we go over any of these, again, they are all rumors and it's all speculation at this point.
Right, and the rumors kind of come from maybe some of stuff that they have announced in the past or kind of talked about, but it seems like most of them are actually coming from the concept art that they released. So, and go check out the concept art.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of see what we're
a really, really
about.
cool concept art. Not that necessarily, again, it gives anything away, because it's a very overview, broad kind of spectrum of a picture. But definitely go and check that out, because that's some of the stuff, or all the stuff, we're going to be talking about. And just when you started listening to this episode, you say, "Oh, they're the Mouse Bros. Why are they talking about Universal?" Well, because we're going to start off with the new theme park for Universal first, and then kind of relate it all on to Disney, like what Disney might need to do more of, if not maybe even a fifth gate, but we will most certainly get there. So just stay tuned to the Universal part. If you don't like Universal that much, just fast forward.
That's right, fast forward to Disney.
So they do have, like you said, a hotel that is in the concept art, which again will most likely have its own kind of separate entrance to the park, which is interesting, an interesting take, especially for Orlando to have that. Like they have that in California Adventure, Disney does, for the hotel that's there, the Grand Californian, but not necessarily yet in Disney World.
Yeah. That's all true statements have been said.
Which is interesting, I guess, from it, because as of right now, Disney doesn't have that, but could with the Star Wars hotel up and coming.
Right.
Yeah. Also, some other, I guess, more of the themed areas. One that is, I guess, rumored, but also kind of confirmed is Super Nintendo World. And I say kind of confirmed because Universal has said that it's coming to all three Universals, Japan, Hollywood, and Orlando, but not necessarily which park it might be going into in Orlando. Of course, now with the new park just announced, most likely like 90, there's no way it's not going to go in this new park.
It just makes sense. It's putting two and two together. They announced this whole world where it will be, its own land, own portion of the park. It's not like they announced a new ride. They announced an entire, the Super Nintendo World, which will be, shops, restaurants, probably a couple of attractions. And now they're announcing a new park where Universal just bought a ton of land. So it just kind of makes sense that this is where this will go.
And because it's going in Japan, there's already been a concept art for Japan. And in that concept art for Japan is Bowser's Castle, Peach's Castle, a Yoshi area, and what looks like kind of like a Donkey Kong kind of area mixed with maybe a Donkey Kong mine cart roller coaster in some sort.
Something like that, yeah.
And then also, as a rumor, a Mario Kart attraction also for Japan. So using that same kind of concept, we're just kind of guessing at this point. But if they're doing the Super Nintendo World, it's probably going to be a copy-paste into the other, two parks, Hollywood and Orlando. So it's most likely going to be the same feel of all the stuff that they're putting in Super Nintendo World in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Moving on to the next area, and it's kind of sticking with the Nintendo, and what they're saying it's going to be a Pokemon area, which could be really interesting. Again, it's a rumor, so there's like nothing to really speculate on in the sense of like what attractions they could have or.
Right, but I guess it's good enough to say that Pokemon with Pokemon Go and kind of all of that coming back.
Right.
It would make sense if they kind of pull something off here to incorporate Pokemon.
Right, and the fact that it is a, they say Super Nintendo World. Nintendo it isn't just Mario, right? It would be like a Super Mario World, then you could be like, oh, well, it's just Mario. But Super Nintendo World, this does include Pokemon, because Pokemon is a part of Nintendo. So, it's not confirmed, but like it would make sense if there was like a Pokemon area. Like I don't think anybody would be upset about it.
Yeah, no, not I wouldn't. Again,
no, I would love it.
I mean, that's our childhood. So, I think in any of these kind of situations, when they kind of relate it back to our millennial-based childhood, it pulls in money because, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The next area that is rumored is How to Train Your Dragon area. I don't know about this one. This one doesn't seem too likely. Yeah, I think they've had 3 movies. I don't think they've ever been like box office smashes.
No, but I think a significant amount to have them represented in a park, even if it's a ride like Shrek or like the Minion ride.
Yeah,
something maybe of that basis I could see in here,
but not a whole area.
Yeah, maybe like a kid's roller coaster.
Yeah,
on like a dragon base or something like that. Like that would be
when
pretty
you put
cool.
it like that, it makes sense. Like if they had almost like a DreamWorks area, and it had a bunch of stuff like Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, insert another DreamWorks movie here
because we don't watch them.
But yeah, so like it could make sense like that if it was just a ride, but I don't see it being a whole area like you said.
Yeah, another area land. I guess we're calling it area. I feel like land is more Disney related because they call everything land, right? So is a Universal Classic Monsters area, which kind of, it's rumored on the concept art. There's like a dark purplish area in the concept art. So that's the rumor to have it there. Now, whether this would just be a dark ride with kind of all of the classic monsters like Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, stuff like that, but maybe like a Halloween Horror Nights kind of, maybe in a section of it or a part of it, and like all year round.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, they've had the classic monsters. They've had shows for Universal with the classic monsters in Universal forever. There's a huge cult following. So I think it would almost, I don't use the word dumb, but it would be dumb to not have an area dedicated to this, because it's not a money grab, but it's going to bring people into the park.
Yeah, I feel like it's that kind of nostalgia, iconic, classic grab that they haven't done too much in the parks.
Right.
That to do it here would be really, really
like
cool.
They have the merchandise, they've had like a show, they've had meet and greets, but never like a full area dedicated to these classic monsters. On the year-round Halloween Horror Nights, I think that's a little bit too scary to have all year round.
Yeah, I would think they would need to either pick kind of a feel, if they want to go Universal Classic Monsters, do that and do all of that and just that.
Right. Or like the Halloween Horror Nights, kind of what you're saying is like having it be a walkthrough, but like a really intense, scary walkthrough.
Yeah, like,
I think that's just too intense all year round. I like the idea of a dark ride of all the classic monsters. Kind of like if you were to take, and we're a Disney podcast, so I'm going to use Disney rides, but if you were to take the Great Movie Ride and the Haunted Mansion and put them together, right? You get the classic monster movies, but put them into a ride where they're all together to where it's, scary, but not overly scary that, people are like fainting and stuff.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting. And all these rumors, again, I mean, of course they are rumors, but it's kind of excited to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on, there's kind of just a rumor, not necessarily in any particular land, but just a dueling launching coaster, which would be interesting.
Yeah. They haven't even announced a name for it. A lot of people are thinking this is where the How to Train Your Dragon area could possibly be.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, a nice, I guess, grab.
Yeah,
more of an
but
adult
there's definitely going to
attraction.
be a new coaster, because that's what's in the concept art.
Right.
But it doesn't have a name or anything like that.
Right. And then last is just a Fantastic Beast area, and that's from Harry Potter. Again, actually watched the second movie and half of the first because
Couldn't get into it.
I fell asleep.
Okay.
But I did watch the second, and the second was good, and the second led you up to believe that there's going to be a third, and why not? But again, interesting. I feel like with all of these lands, they're going to go with all of them just like they did with Harry Potter, with Diagon Alley and
like they're going to go all out.
All out,
Yeah.
I think, in all of the lands, because like they say, it's an epic universe. So it's going to be all these multiple universes of characters in one park,
Yeah,
which I hope it is.
I don't really see a Fantastic Beast going in just because they already do have Harry Potter. I feel like that would be a lot and almost kind of conflicting in between, different
Yeah,
parks.
I mean, it is like, before the classic Harry Potter movies, but
It just, I don't
again,
know.
if they did it, pure money grab.
No,
I mean,
absolutely
but-
money grab.
But of course, they would do it well because they've already done the two other Harry Potter
Right.
areas very well.
Right, but it's like, if it's like if you had a Back to the Future ride in one park and then in another park you had Back to the Future 2. You know what I mean? Like it's the same stuff, but just different movies. I know I probably just offended people who really like those movies.
Wow.
I've never seen Fantastic Beast. I think the Harry Potters are better, but again, I've never seen it.
They do carry themselves.
Right.
I mean,
But so I don't see Fantastic Beasts working just because they already have a Harry Potter land.
yeah. So that sums up pretty much all of our rumors and speculations that we've gone through and found. And I'm sure by the time this episode comes out and after, there's going to be more rumors and speculations and maybe even something confirmed here and there. I mean, there hasn't even been like a confirmed date for when the park is estimated to open or anything. my best guess would probably be mostly like 2028, maybe.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not gonna.
No, yeah.
I don't think it'll be a quick turnaround, but I also don't think it's gonna be a slow turnaround. But I could see 2028, even like 2025, maybe, depending on
as a push.
How much they want to build and how quickly they want to get it up. How much money is Universal ready to spend to get this up as fast as possible?
Yeah, which again, as we know from other Disney things, that could hurt them if they want to just push to get it done now and not spend all of the money that they want to spend to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So moving on, as kind of just an overview of kind of to even further launch our discussion, is a Universal ticket versus kind of a Disney ticket. There's tons of different options and ways that you can price out your Disney ticket. So we thought the best way possible would basically just to be compare a 1-day base ticket at Universal and a 1-day base ticket at Disney, and what they call park hoppers on both parks. So at Universal, their 1-day base ticket is starting at $115. And then a 1-day, what they call park to park, which is the park hopper, is starting at $170. And they all say starting basically because it's a different price for what different day you would go.
Right. Like if you go during the week not during busy season, it'll be this 115, 170. But if you go in the middle of August, on a Saturday, you're going to be paying more money because it's just busier.
Right, exactly. So to compare that to Disney World, a 1-day base ticket is starting at $109, and then a 1-day park hopper ticket is starting at $169, which is, again, interesting. I mean, for a park hopper, for Disney, starting at $169, I mean, I know it's only $1 difference, but if you think of it as far as Disney has 4 parks and Universal has 2.
Right. No, absolutely. Even that, a base ticket, $115, and Disney is $109, you have a choice of 4 parks rather than 2 parks. So it almost seems like the ticket pricing should almost be reverse. And now when Universal starts building this, new park, and even when it opens, the ticket prices are going to go up a lot because Universal is going to have to replenish the money that they spend on this park.
I mean, of course. I mean, I would imagine they would go up, and does that necessarily mean that, of course, Disney again will go up?
I mean, throughout like every year, you can look at Universal and Disney World tickets, and they always go up. Whether it's $1, $2, that they're always going up. So yeah, when Epic Universe opens, Disney will have a higher ticket, but it's not going to be as high as a ticket as Universal because Universal is already more expensive. So I think this, I don't want to say helps Disney, but it already makes Disney look better because they have cheaper tickets for more like bang for your buck. Now, this could all change, though, once Star Wars Galaxy Edge opens for Disney World, once, all of Epcot gets refinished the way that it has. So,
there's a lot going on.
Right.
So they could keep it at this kind of $109 starting base price, and, maybe by the time everything's done, 2025, we're looking at, $150 at a starting base for a ticket, which would be interesting.
Right. And then, it could also be around $150 for Universal. Yeah. So it really just depends on which park wants, which company wants to spend more money and which company wants to replenish that money, faster.
Yeah,
do you keep your prices low to bring people in, or do you keep them high to where you would get, in quotes, less people but more money?
Again, I think this Super Nintendo World is where it's going to be, is where the push and primary funds, I would imagine, are going to come from and go to. Because to me, Super Nintendo World is going to be like a Star Wars land, and kind of in comparison as far as the immersiveness. People have grown up with Nintendo for forever. Even us with, Nintendo 64 with Mario and with Pokemon, we've grown up with that. So even if tickets are $150 each to get into this completely new world of immersement, I'm sold.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I talk to a lot of people who are very into, the anime, into Nintendo and all of that. And they've said that they are going to travel to Japan specifically for Super Nintendo World when it opens because, it's going to have the most immersive stuff. It's going to have the best technology because it's coming right from Japan. So it's going to be, the greatest. So people are saying that they're going to take trips to Japan just for this. So, yeah. It is the kind of the driving force, I think, is this Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, I think it most certainly will be too. And maybe in the concept art, I'm trying to remember where it's located or where, the rumor is that it's located, but the rumor is that it's kind of small, but it could be bigger than what we think it is from the concept art. Half the park could be, Super Nintendo World, and we wouldn't know yet. Which is, again, interesting because nothing's confirmed.
Yeah. So keep on the lookout for information as it comes out. I think now is a good time to move on and just to kind of generally talk about attendance overall and, the history between Disney and Universal attendance. So currently, and these are numbers for 2018 because this episode is coming out in 2019, so we haven't had the full numbers for 2019. So for Universal in 2018, they did 10.7 million. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Compare that to Magic Kingdom, however. Magic Kingdom in 2018 had 20.8 million people visit the park. That's 10 million more than Universal. And
right.
That's just one park. I'm not sure about the data that I have, if it's, Universal. I think that's just Universal Orlando. I don't think it is Islands of Adventure.
Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah. If you're comparing, I guess, apples to apples, Magic Kingdom, of course, opened first. Universal Orlando, kind of that classic Universal feel first. So,
right.
It makes sense to compare them both.
Right.
But it's kind of hard to compare them both at the same time.
Right. Well, even if you didn't want to compare it to Magic Kingdom, let's go through the other parks. In second place, in terms of attendance, is Animal Kingdom, which had 13.7 million in 2018. That's a lot of people. Epcot had 12.4 million in third. And then lastly, Hollywood Studios, because Hollywood Studios has been struggling for a long time, is at 11.2 million. I can't wait to see what that number is going to be after Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened for Hollywood Studios.
Even for, the kind of Toy Story Land swing on top of Star Wars Land. Even though Toy Story Land opened, in 2018, but still, I'm hoping that Star Wars Land, at least for Disney World, brings that attendance in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you kind of add all those numbers, just rough estimates, that adds up to about 58.1 million people compared to, Universal Orlando, 10 million. So when comparing apples to apples, you do see a difference. But when you compare, Universal to Disney, it's a really big difference. And, Universal, you only see the uptake when, in 2014, when Diagon Alley hits. That was when the new Harry Potter world opens. That's when Universal kind of gets big. That's when Universal basically reaches that 10 million mark, is in 2014. To put that in perspective, Animal Kingdom hits 10 million in 2013. Hollywood Studios hits 10 million in 2013. Epcot hits 10 million probably in about 2004. I don't have data that goes back all that far. I can't imagine when Magic Kingdom hit 10 million. It's probably a little bit ago. So it's interesting that, Universal Orlando is just hitting that 10 million mark when Disney is, constantly now breaking this 10 million mark, in its sleep. So,
Yeah, again,
just interesting.
I think they're just trying to make up for kind of lost time. So they're just shoving anything and everything that they can into a park and into what will be a new park.
Yeah, absolutely.
To kind of, recuperate that. And I mean, it's been, I guess, the battle for years, Universal versus Disney. At least, when you're planning a vacation or thinking about a vacation to Orlando, that's your first two that come up to the top of your head. Oh, do you want to go to Disney or do you want to go to Universal? And there's usually a pretty fine line, I guess, on what you want to do and I guess it all goes back to what I guess you've been brought up on. If I guess back in really our day, all we ever grew up on was Disney, right? But let's say we didn't do Disney growing up and we just kind of stuck to the Busch Gardens, Six Flags, era of things, we would probably push more towards Universal, I would feel, rather than Disney. And just from the ride base of more of the thrill attractions at Universal.
So, I would agree with you. But looking at numbers, numbers never lie, right? So in 2015, this is like a year after Diagon Alley opens. You can see an uptick by a significant amount. We're talking about a couple millions in Universal and in Disney. So it almost seems like, just making, an inference that people are going to Universal because of Diagon Alley. But while they're at Universal, they're also coming to Disney. That when they go down, they're like, oh, we're going to do 2 days in Universal. While we're down there, let's do 2 days in Disney. So it's almost like Universal opens something new and it helps them, but at the same time, it's helping Disney.
Yeah, and altogether, they're both helping the Orlando area, which is also significant.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. I think that kind of wraps
up our attendance.
Yeah.
Now, I guess to swing it over to the Disney side, and of course, the major question is, how does this affect Disney? And multiple points that we'll go through. I guess the top one, of course, you want to compare apples to apples, right? So if Universal is opening a new park, the question is, well, does Disney now need another park, a fifth gate? What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think Disney necessarily needs a fifth gate. You can look at the attendance, that spikes when Volcano Bay opens. I know Volcano Bay is a water park. We're saying fifth gate, but we're talking about, not water parks. So it would be interesting to see what the numbers are after this Epic Universe opens. I don't think it's going to affect Disney too much to where they need to open a fifth park. Do I think Disney will? Yes. Just because, they're constantly updating the parks. You always have to do that. But now they're adding in a lot more hotels. They're adding in new hotels and building new hotels, to where it seems that they want to have all of this room, all of these rooms for people to come once they open a fifth park. That they're going to, update all four of the other parks to where they can stand on their own as they build a fifth park.
Yeah, I guess to me, a few things. Disney, yes, absolutely needs to keep updating their parks because it comes, you just need to do it. It's something you need to do. But how much more can you update a park with like Hollywood Studios, basically completely shut half of it down, all of it down, and then completely retheme the land and get a new land to build back up kind of pretty much the whole entire image of the park versus maybe the answer is to go through what Hollywood Studios did go through because it needed something else.
Right.
And now maybe they're giving it a new direction. But how much more of that, like with Epcot, like how much are they really going to actually shut down with Future World? And, there is closures that, we've talked about on another episode that is coming, and that Future World is getting a whole entire overhaul. But how much more of that can they do besides just opening up another park and kind of starting fresh?
Right. Because, before all of this too, we've had New Fantasyland. So where they had to basically shut down Fantasyland and Magic Kingdom and redo everything, redo the face of it to give it, a more fantasy feel. So they've done that. In Animal Kingdom, you have, the world of Pandora, Avatar Land, where they didn't really shut down much. They just built a very large section of the park.
Yes.
New.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
which was great.
Right. So I don't think that they can do too much more. I think after this Epcot, I think Disney, after Epcot, they were going to focus on hotels, and Disney's going to open a fifth gate. I don't think Disney's opening a fifth gate because of what Universal's doing. I think Disney would open a fifth gate because that's where Disney's headed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would take a complete guess, but I would guess Disney's going to look at Universal and say, well, let's actually see what this does for Universal. Let's take their numbers and see kind of what it would do to us if that was an option as a fifth gate. Now, that could be like 2035.
Right.
As a fifth gate.
We're not talking about things that are happening in the next couple years.
But with all of these new hotels that they're renovating and updating, and the new hotels that they're making with, the Disney Vacation Club, as all the way down from the moderates to, updating all of the values like the All-Stars, how many more hotel rooms can they have for guests to stay on property to then not have enough space in the park? Now, I know we're talking about hundreds of thousands of guests, to max out a park, but then you're talking about guests that are staying in Disney World plus guests that are staying outside of Disney World, because that's still, a more affordable options for some family. That when is too much in a park before you need just a fifth gate just for capacity?
Right. And I know you're saying like, oh, well, we're talking about an extreme scenario, but during Christmas and New Year's, that extreme scenario happens where the capacity gets hit and there is literally a line, a wait to get into Magic Kingdom, if not even like Epcot. Probably not Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, but, there is a wait to get into the parks. So, if you look at the attendance throughout the years, it's in a upward motion where it's not, decreasing or anything. It's increasing. So you keep adding hotel rooms, you're gonna run out of space, in mid-season, in June, July, August. That's when you're gonna run out of that space, unless you build this fifth park to kind of help spread out the capacity.
I will say, I guess with some of the updates, I hope, and I don't know if this is I guess it is a negative thing to say, but I guess the direction they're going now with these shutting down attractions and these kind of, quote, cheap, updates, I hope they don't open a fifth gate kind of with that mentality, with that team that's kind of going about that.
Yeah, no, I agree that you need to kind of not go back to the old techniques, but, with the old Imagineers who really came up with original stories. And not only were these original stories, new and no one knew about them, but these original stories became the true stories, and now we accept these stories. Pirates of the Caribbean, it came out as a ride, and then it came out as a movie to then inspire the ride. That does not happen a lot. Haunted Mansion did the same thing. Wasn't a great movie, but the attraction became so popular that it inspired a movie.
And again, you don't get that from Universal.
Right. Universal, they take a movie that does really well
and immerse you in it.
Right.
Yes.
Now, you could also argue that Disney did the same thing with Land of Pandora.
Disney is starting to go that way. I mean, Toy Story Land, it was a movie first before
Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, exactly. It's all going in that direction because movies do play such a huge role, in our existence, not even just our individual lives, but altogether, it's all about movies, kind of when you think about it, and
Right. No,
how much
absolutely.
you want to immerse yourself to, quote, get out of reality.
Absolutely. But, with that being said, if they really want to keep like the Disney name true, they need when they do this fifth gate, they can't take a bunch of Disney movies and put them into a park. They need to, again, make a new park from scratch, do original stories that no one has ever seen or heard of, and do these stories so well that they become popular.
Yeah, I mean, even all of Animal Kingdom, for that matter. I mean, the one Imagineer, Joe Rohde, basically hand-designed and built all of Animal Kingdom with, pretty much all original stories, like with Everest and Dinosaur, and things like that. I mean, not necessarily A Bug's Life was already a movie, but you can't have Animal Kingdom and not include some of those of animal movies
absolutely
from Disney.
When they built Magic Kingdom, obviously they didn't have, 47 new attractions with 47 original stories. I completely understand that there does need to be some, familiarity that brings people into the park, but then while they're there has to be that original aspect as well.
Or even if it was more of a built on what they already have. Build more on those iconic classic Disney cartoons maybe, or the Disney classic movies. Build more in that to immerse you in the classic movies that everybody already loves.
Right, alongside new and really good original stories.
Yeah, I think a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Now, how about, I mean, I know we talked about Fifth Gate and what to put in it, but what about, how about, stuff that Disney's already doing now? And I guess that's kind of what ticks it off as far as something big has to be coming, right? If they're building all these new hotels. Now, if they have the Skyliner, if they're putting money into updating the buses and kind of all of the road work, to the Magic Kingdom and everything like that, why are they doing that? I feel like has to be mentioned at some nights of the Disney Roundtable discussion that, we're doing all this kind of infrastructure stuff. What do you guys think about a fifth park? I mean, it's got to equal up to it, right?
It just points, it just points to a fifth gate. Again, not because that's what Universal's doing, because that's just the natural progression of where Disney is headed. You can't keep building on top of yourself. If you do that, you're going to get a skyscraper and nobody's going to be able to ever reach the top. Or if you're at the top of the skyscraper, it's going to be really hard to reach the bottom. That's a really weird metaphor. I hope somebody understands what I'm trying to say. But you just can't keep building up on top of yourself. You have to expand out. That's what cities are, right? Cities, you get a couple big buildings, a couple big skyscrapers, but then they stop building the skyscraper and they start expanding out. And that's what Disney needs to do. They can't keep building on top of themselves.
I wonder what the option would be. And maybe it's not a fifth gate. Maybe it's some other type of Disney experience that, hasn't been thought of yet. Not necessarily like a Disney Quest, but like a Disney Springs 2, or like a bigger shopping area,
or like not like a Disney Quest, but like Disney Adventure, where it's kind of like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but you go into this like amusement park and that's all you do. You stay in this big amusement park. There's a bunch of you can do like side missions. I don't know. Just like you go on like different adventures in the park that can lead you to rides or not, and like lead you to villains, or I don't know, kind of like a Magic Quest almost.
I feel like if they did more of if they were able to get the rights fully for Marvel, I think that would be the play.
You think Marvel, like a Marvel Land or Marvel Park?
I don't know.
Because they're already doing the Marvel Land in Disneyland.
Yes.
And they have Marvel everywhere. See, to me, that doesn't make sense because, you've got Marvel now going with Guardians of the Galaxy, other places that have Marvel. I can't think off the top of my head. But they also can't, like you said, use everything because they don't have the full rights. So, how do they get the full rights? unknown.
I know completely unknown, but if they did, I feel like that would be a direction that again they would want to shut down and update some attraction that we all love. Not salty about it, but is that then just to have a whole nother park just dedicated to Marvel? And maybe it's not just Marvel, but some of these other.
So, but then the thing is how is that different from Hollywood Studios? How is that different from a theme park that was based on making movies, and then the theme park became the movies?
Right, yeah. And again, maybe it's more of that. Maybe it's more of shutting stuff down in Hollywood Studios and
make Marvel.
Adding a complete Marvel, land. But of course, again, they could never do that because they can't use any of the rights and things of that nature.
Right.
But just, interesting to talk about because that's what this episode's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I
know.
I think that's it. I think we've kind of said all of it because we talked about the hotels, talked about, transportation.
Yeah. Again, the main question is, and it will still be the main question a year from now or, 5 years from now if they haven't done it yet, Disney Fifth Gate. And, that's the main reason why we wanted to center this episode kind of around that was because of the news from Universal, and it just goes hand in hand because I feel like that's always the question for us. Disney's updating this, or are they just going to do another park yet?
Yeah. So I think, right, give me just like one or two sentences to answer this question. How does Universal's new park, Epic Universe, affect Disney?
Again, I don't think it does. I mean, any vacation that we have taken has been based around Disney with an asterisk of let's do 2-3 days in Universal. So yeah, in that regard, it doesn't, because I think a primary reason is still going to be Disney World. At least for us. How about you?
I completely agree with you. Just because, I think Universal and Disney can be kind of sorted by one word: nostalgia. Disney has that nostalgic feel that makes you want to go back. Universal has that feel that when you go, you're like, oh my gosh, I'd never seen this before. This is amazing. Okay, what's next? Right, you know what I mean? It doesn't have that, oh my gosh, I need to go back there. It was like oh wow, this was really cool. I'm glad I did this. I don't need to come back for X amount of years until the next thing is unleashed. That's why Universal is constantly adding movies with the King Kong, Fast and Furious. They just redid the Jurassic Park, so it's now Jurassic World. They're always updating their stuff to be the new current hit movie, but Disney is just like, no, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing because what I'm doing works.
And they've done it for forever. And like in that point again, I think this is Universal catching up to the times. It's more on immersion. Disney has done that for forever. Not just, oh, here's an attraction, or like, you have two attractions next to each other. One is Shrek, one is, Minions. There's no land, there's no theme. The immersion is not really all the way there.
Right. How I think this, and kind of what you're saying, is Universal creates rides. They create a ride that you do, which is awesome, and then you go to the next ride. Universal creates attractions. My fiance Katie and I, with our trip to Busch Gardens recently, we were having this conversation, because we were seeing a bunch of the shows at Busch Gardens because, they have like 3 little theaters that you can go and they have shows throughout the day. And we got into a discussion, on our honeymoon, what shows are we going to want to see at Disney? And we started talking about how many shows there were. And there weren't a lot. And that's because Disney, when they create attraction, they immerse you in it. They create a show with a ride. So that becomes an attraction with a nostalgic feeling. Universal creates a ride based on a movie, but like you said, with no connection, so it doesn't make you feel like you're in the movie, that you're experiencing it, live for the first time with the people on the attraction, if that makes sense.
Right, like for Harry Potter, that's them catching up with the times, them saying, oh my gosh, this Harry Potter thing is a gold mine. We need more of it. And now they're like, well, we're not going to update any of our other parks. Let's just open up another one, start fresh, and let's put all of this money into Super Nintendo World. And I feel like that's what this grab is.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So all in all, I don't think this affects Disney.
Not worried at all.
Not worried.
Still most likely going to go check it out.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it.
That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to do it at least once.
But it's going to be on a Disney trip. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, that we're going to go down for Disney for a week. And, 2 days, we're going to be like, hey, let's just go to Universal, check this out. But after we're done, it's okay. We're going to go back to Disney.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up here. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review as it helps us improve the show. And as always, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.